your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Talk. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
All right, and that was the sound of me turning off my AC because we are now on camera, and you're going to see a gradual progression of me just slowly getting more and more sweaty. All right, and speaking of, well, what's the opposite? So, you know, it would be nice if I was in Russia right now, where I assume it's always cold, right? Because that's where anytime I'm on, I watch a video from Russia, it's like always snowy there. Speaking of Russia and amazing transitions, Russian Raid.
Hey, that's the movie we're talking about.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Ruski Raid.
Yeah, if you can see us on YouTube, which I swear we're going to put videos out on.
Yeah.
You can see it on Will's whiteboard. Ruski Raid, or Russian Raid, as it's known in English in America.
And the movie is not just the raid, but with Russians, which is what I was led to believe it was.
Yeah,
right?
So was I, actually. I was getting worried that it was going to be not like a shot-for-shot remake, but they were just going to steal the entire premise of The Raid, the Indonesian film starring Iko Uwais, where, hey, police officers are going into a drug-infested building, and they kind of get stuck in there, and they have to fight their way out. Yeah. Very, very, very simple premise. If you're going to copy a premise, I mean, that's a good one to do because it lends itself to so much action. And this movie, it's a raid, but not like that movie.
Yes.
Right? This is still technically a raid because it could have been a heist.
Well,
your favorite genre.
my
could have
favorite
been a
genre.
heist.
No, well, it started off kind of setting it up as if they're going to do some sort of heist. They didn't really do a really good job initially, like telling you what they're about to do. It's not until like they get into the throes of it where you actually discover what the plan was all along. And even then, like, it's just, you really don't understand what the motivations are until we get like maybe halfway through the film, right?
Yeah, that was my big issue with this movie. The way that the film was divulging the information to us. You're correct. Mm-hmm. In the beginning of the movie, they kind of set up a plan, but instead of really laying out the steps of said plan, like a heist movie would do, we literally go into it, and I was just confused. I was asking questions the whole time. I was like, wait, why are they here? Like, who are these people? What's going on? And I got it the second rewatch because I kind of looked up some information, but okay. I felt that's where I was really struggling when I was first watching it. I just didn't get what was going on, even though the story is actually pretty simple.
Yeah, no, yes, you're right. The story is very simple. The storytelling is a mess. The movie is a little bit of a mess.
I think this is a good movie to spoil because if I knew the entire plot throughout, I don't think I would have been worried about all the little details I was missing, because there are a few details that characters say and it's just one sentence, and if you kind of missed it, if you were looking somewhere else or you weren't reading the subtitles fast enough, it could have gone over your head. Like, there's a female character that I didn't know she was a former police officer.
Yes, that is true.
That went like right over my head. So the entire movie I was thinking, why was she there?
Well, even with that information, I still thought, why is she here? There were bits.
She needed to be the damsel in distress.
Well, yes, that's the real reason. I mean, it's funny because this movie was like released last year. I mean, 2020. I'm sure production
released this year, I think.
Although production was probably pre-COVID, right?
I think last year was in Russia, though, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, like there's some things that feel a little dated, and mostly the way that they treat the female character. She
1 year
literally
is dated for you?
Well, no, I mean like the way that they treat this character, the female character. She's literally a sex object throughout the whole film.
Oh yeah, yeah,
she's
completely.
extremely
It's-
objectified.
I mean, this is not an American film where people are trying to be progressive. I'm not saying things aren't progressive in Russia, but hey, you know how they treat Pussy Riot and all that fun stuff. So.
yeah. Not to get political.
Not at all, yeah. I meant a literal riot of pussies.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. That's totally
Yeah.
what you meant.
Like, you know, like vaginas like rubbing against each other.
Oh jeez,
Yeah,
we're getting demonetized right away. Yeah,
of course.
well,
Wait, are we monetized?
I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, well, I
Okay.
guess we'll never be at this point. Russian Raid. Watching this last night made me realize one thing. I am not watching it again.
Oh, so it was like unbeatable for you.
Unbeatable. Oh, I guess in that sense, yeah. Like, well, I watched out the first 15 minutes of that like a million times, right? So I guess
Yeah.
that doesn't count. But for this, no, I like watching it with the one time. I got kind of, I wouldn't say frustrated, but I was just so perplexed, not confused, perplexed, even though they're like the same thing. It's just like they kept making some mistakes, not mistakes. They just were not divulging information in a way that I found very satisfying. And I found just like a lot of like little things added up that I just did not have a good experience with the film. Although it just it's a mess. All right, like let's just put it that way. It's a complete mess, and we can definitely get into it a little bit more. And I think that when we actually go into the throes of the action or explaining the details of it, that would probably explain why I didn't enjoy it so much. Even though the action's not terrible, they do little things here and there that ultimately add up to me just my eyes just start glazing over. I just kept thinking that as I was watching this movie, like you were saying before, how a story beat or like a detail will be dropped on you, and if you miss it, you missed it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's completely out now. But I would just find myself like after a while, just my eyes start like staring at the wall because I'm like I'm just seeing, or I'm looking at the television, and it's just a bunch of pretty colors to me now. I'm like, I don't care anymore. And I don't know if that was your impression of the film as well.
Yes and no. This is very odd. This is a slow-paced action film.
Yeah.
It's strange because when the action happens, it still feels very slow. The pacing feels like it never ramps up to a state of where you start to feel like very, very actively engaged. It always just well, we can get into that when we start getting into the action.
Well, we can talk about it generally speaking, right?
Yeah. But okay. First, let me take a crack at the story. I think.
Oh boy.
I think I got it.
Oh boy. All right.
I think I got it, and maybe this might be helpful for people going in, watching it for the first time, because I was kind of lost. So just correct me if I'm wrong anywhere.
Okay.
Okay, so the film stars a man named Nikita. He is a mercenary. He's on a job in the beginning of the movie, and he notices a man named Ghost. It flashes back, and we learn that this character, Ghost, killed his father when he was very young, right?
Correct.
Okay. So he attempts to shoot Ghost. It goes awry, and things blow up, and like mission's over. Fast forward, Nikita takes on a mercenary contract with some guy in a suit, Russian Loki, Russian Tom Hiddleston.
Wait. Russians in tracksuits? No, wait, no, I don't. Wait, that's not a thing, is it?
You
mean a regular
like a nice
suit?
Yeah,
Oh,
a
okay, I
nice
thought we were
like
going with that.
blue, royal blue
blazer.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, the mission is he hired Nikita, the mercenary, to lead a bunch of like roughnecks and hooligans to raid a factory, and they want to force majeure, or they want to kind of do like a hostile takeover of this factory, right?
Yes.
So far, so good, right?
You're right. So that's basically the front facing synopsis. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
After this
I was-
becomes all spoilers and stuff. But you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
but I think it's okay to spoil this because I think it doesn't really matter.
Well-
okay, so
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
okay, so unbeknownst to everybody except Nikita, he actually has other ulterior motives because the factory is actually owned by that character Ghost, and the reason they raid it is because he wanted to get his attention in order to get him out of hiding so he can get revenge on Ghost for killing his father.
Yes. So that whole revelation you just mentioned, you just described it in a way that I feel like the movie didn't do a good job of doing.
Yes.
Right?
I wanted to describe it that way because when the information was fed to me while watching it, it didn't stick. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? When I watched it again and after I read the synopsis and started reading people's reviews, then it clicked. Then when I watched the movies, I was like, I just wish the storytelling was a little better.
Yeah, of course. Because that whole revelation, it's still on the surface. I still find it very hard to understand. Well, because what do you mean? The factory is actually owned by another guy? Because what ends up happening is when Ghost shows up at towards the 2/3 mark of the film, he has a bunch of his men just gunning down everyone in the factory, and I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
That wasn't very clear. My assumption is no witnesses. And
Why?
this is me just assuming. It was never said,
Uh-huh.
but what ends up happening is they realize that the real owners of the factory are coming, and we're kind of at the end of the film already. We're jumped ahead a little bit. But the real owners are coming. They need to get everybody out, even the people that they tied up. So
Yeah, right. Well,
like,
I mean, the ones who actually worked at the factory, we thought were the original owners. They suddenly are considered enemies of Ghost, who was the original owner, the real owner, even though they worked there. I don't understand that part. Where's the motivation in determining why suddenly all the allegiances are all over the place? I don't understand why. By the way, up to that 1/2 mark or the 1/2 to 2/3 mark. It feels like it's very, very simple. Here are the good guys. I'm putting that in quotations. They're good guys, and they're raiding this place to go against the quote unquote bad guys. And then once Ghost shows up, all those people we just mentioned get on the same team, and I don't really understand why.
yeah, that was not handled very well. And the whole time I kept thinking, wait, why are they now in some sort of weird allegiance? Why are they now helping each other out?
Yeah.
That really needed to be explained a lot better.
You said something yesterday when I when I was watching this movie. I just got on my phone. I'm like, Zero, what is happening with this movie? And then I just noticed, I'm like, I just missed 3 lines of dialogue. And I'm like, oh my god, that was I guess that was a pivotal story points or something like that. But I guess not, because I'm sure the movie's still confusing without that. Yeah, because I have absolutely no what was going on. When I texted you, you said, yeah, the character development's pretty bad. And that's another thing we should talk about. The characters. They're the main characters, they're not redeemable at all. They're kind of dickish.
So, after thinking about it a little bit, I will say I think the movie was kind of smart in how they set up the quote unquote main characters, at least.
Sure.
You have Nikita. He's a very soft-spoken, kind of stoic and admirable kind of character. He's technically a mercenary, but he's still a good guy. You get that sense throughout the entire film. And these kind of football hooligans that they hire to assist in the raid, they are very, very rambunctious. They're cocky, very, very arrogant, and they constantly butt heads with Nikita throughout the first 2/3 of the movie. And the film keeps on having them go at odds. So that was one of the only driving factors in terms of characterization that I thought was kind of interesting. you knew who the people were that you hated right away.
Yeah.
Because they set them up, and you knew that Nikita needed to put them in his place. So the whole time you get that sense of tension. They're constantly going against each other, and then finally they alleviate it later because then they obviously have to fight.
Yeah, and then the movie does that whole switcheroo with allegiances, and it almost feels like, okay, well, I mean, after setting up such terrible characters because of all the things that they do and the way that they behave, you kind of already kind of suspect that something terrible is going to happen to them, right? Their fates are like kind of sealed.
Yes.
But once the allegiances start getting a little muddled because of the movie progresses that way, it's like it's almost as if the movie is trying to make you feel like sympathize with these characters.
Yes.
And it doesn't work. Like, what is happening?
I agree with you.
One of them is an attempted rapist.
Yeah. They definitely try. I after rewatching it, I saw that they tried to put little hints of characterization in everyone here and there. The issue with those hooligans, who are kind of the antagonists, even though they're alongside
Deuteronomist or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they're going alongside the protagonist the whole movie. It sucks because they all look the same. They're all in the track suits. They all kind of have the really short haircuts. So you really have to look at the shapes of their heads.
Yeah. Well, they don't have character, right?
Yeah, they don't have character. It's like one of them, one of them has like a potential love interest with some other woman. One of them's a crazy guy who gets injected with morphine.
Yeah, well, he has a sock on his hand the entire time.
Yeah, then one of them's a leader, and then
one of them. Well, that one's we have Russian Tom Hardy. Who plays the leader.
Yeah, Russian Tom Hardy, and then I kind of thought that the guy who played Nikita, Ivan Kotik, he kind of looked like Christian Bale in certain angles, certain lights.
I can see that, especially with
like
the hair,
in his hair, in the hair, in his eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. Oh man, this is just a remake of Dark Knight Rises, but worse. And I didn't even like that movie. So we have our main players, and they're kind of just going. All right, well, I think that we've circumvented it long enough. We've got to talk about the action, as from a general standpoint, before we talk about the technicals, because this is actually my big problem with the movie, and why my eyes just kind of start getting cross-eyed after a while. I developed tunnel vision because like the action is choreography wise is actually very interesting at times. I'm like, wow, that's actually kind of nice. It does, and there's not really shaky cam. They do digital tricks to quote unquote accentuate the action. I'm not exactly a fan of that.
Oh, I hate that. That almost ruined all the action for me.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. So basically there is a guy holding a Steadicam, and, because it's not static shots, like you can see the frame kind of moving around. But sometimes when somebody goes in for a hit, you can see digitally they'll move the frame to kind of snap it to the center. And anytime that happened, I was like, oh, no, don't do that. It was, or you can see sometimes they would cut frames to make the hits like a little harder and faster. Yeah.
They'll cut frames or they'll speed up like a certain segment of a hit.
Yeah, and man, like I was getting really disappointed because this was kind of unique from a martial arts standpoint in that it was a little too realistic in the fact that it just looked like bare knuckle brawling, right?
Yeah.
This looked like a lot of the choreography looked like bar fighting.
Right.
Like that's lots of haymakers, but not necessarily in a bad way. You got people going in and out for a few combinations, and then you would go back, and then you would they would kind of wait to kind of catch their breath. It felt a little too realistic at times.
Oh, but I don't mind that.
I don't mind that either.
Enjoy.
But yeah, but yeah, all the post digital effects, it was really, really annoying to me, and I was like I was there, but I wasn't.
I can understand that. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I do think it's slightly excusable, but there is one thing that after watching this, there's the one nuance of action filmmaking that is constantly overlooked, but it's extremely important, is sound editing. And this move, did you notice? Did you pick up on this?
So that's
with the fights.
That's what I was going to ask you. So I don't know if I would say sound editing. I think the sound design.
Design, sorry, not editing.
Their choice to give it very realistic sound effects. Actually.
Yes. Yes.
And what I mean by that is when you punch somebody, it doesn't sound like it does in a Hollywood movie, like like whoosh, sound effect, almost like a mini explosion. Like it almost just sounds like slapping.
Yeah.
Like imagine just like that. Punches like kind of just sound like that because it's skin.
Yeah, but a lot more muffled. It really, and it's. I mean, yes, you're right. It is design, but also partly editing, because the levels will like really dial down. Like it really does feel like because the camera's 5 feet away from the action, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
it almost sounds like they didn't ADR the fights, and we were hearing the real move sets. Like, but you can tell that's not exactly the case, because every now and then that you would hear like swooshes and stuff like that. So the sound designer made a conscious choice to give it more realistic sound effects.
Yep.
And
it's a movie. That's something I can't. That's like almost like a hidden sin. I don't agree with that at all. That's what it takes me out of it so much.
Yeah, that was taking me out of it.
Nothing felt impactful.
Yeah, that is true. Like, yeah, I don't know how I felt. Like I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of in the back of my head. I knew there was something. You knew
I was gonna hate it.
I knew you were. Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest sound guy, although we do have an audio podcast. But I'm not the biggest sound person. I'm very visual. I mean, visual is that's why I've always harped on like the action and stuff. But unfortunately, when it comes to action, it's a whole very immersive experience when you can get the sound right. I mean, It's you combine the things together. Like, that's cool choreography. Now we need to extenuate it. We need to layer it with different things. Yes.
And when it all comes together, like that's what makes the good action scene. When you start to take away these layers, like the sound, for example, I think the common moviegoer will notice something's off, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And like the whole film is kind of like that, and it's kind of unfortunate. So I noticed all those little digital tricks that they do to heighten the action. That's their way of like they want to just focus on that in order to make the action look more intense than it actually was. But without the sound, I was like, no matter what you do, like without the proper sound, I don't feel like this is appropriate. Say, for example, when we're talking about like older Shaw Brothers films, and I don't know why we're going on here, but bear with me. The logic I'm going with is like those movies, like it's very dancey, very floaty. It's like, okay, you suspend your disbelief because like even though they only have 3 sounds for hits, it's like over and over. You can kind of excuse it because you can feel the budget. But it's like it's appropriate for what you're going for.
And that's also of the time period. They were using what they had because they were recording with the fights, right? Weren't they like? Wasn't someone off screen like actually recording like the hits?
Oh, I have no clue about that. But whatever it is, that's the decision that had to be made at the time. Here, it's a more modern film. Sound design wise. They made a conscious decision to make it more realistic sounds, but that actually takes away a lot of the impact from the hits. Yeah, and, like it just feels like nothing is very impactful, and you can say like, yeah, that's what a real fight would be like, but it's a movie. It's a fully immersive experience. You need to actually heighten certain things, like the sound of someone's fist hitting someone's face should actually feel more like you should actually hear it, or I don't know, like that, like. Without that, it just feels like they're not actually the damage isn't really being done. There are entire fight scenes where there's one particular moment where Nikita comes out and his lip is all bloody because he got squared in the jaw, and I didn't even notice. I didn't even know that they're trying to imply that was supposed to be a powerful hit. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and a lot of times where like a character will come out of something and they look like they're kind of like reeling from the pain. without the sound editing, I didn't know that the last hit that they experienced was supposed to be painful.
Okay. That's good. I like that. That's a pretty good
Complaints?
complaints for sound editing or sound design, excuse me.
Yeah, the sound design is definitely my biggest problem with the movie, outside of the messy storytelling. But yeah, the Russian raid. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. But you can still support us by liking us on all the things and watch this and other episodes on YouTube with visual cues to accompany our discussion. And now on to our final thoughts. So I don't recommend Russian Raid. I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion. You might have been more lenient on the film. I didn't enjoy this film at all. I thought there were little glimpses of things I enjoyed, but I found the movie itself very, very frustrating. I didn't hate the film, but I a lot of times I just was like, what? What's going on? I don't understand what's happening. And the fact that the characters are not very likable or that they weren't developed at all, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I felt like the intensity of the action wasn't there. On top of the many things we said before, the sound design, the way that they edit the fights, the hits of the fights, the digital trickery, all those things. Also compounded with the fact that I don't really care about any of the characters. I just felt like there's no intensity throughout the whole film, and that's why I find the movie kind of dull at times. It drags on too long, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend watching the film. I'd say just watch the action and just once, and that's it. Yeah, maybe the fights, the fight between Nikita and all the tracksuit guys. There's the gym fight, which is super short, and that's it, really. Yeah, no. Zero, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling of what you would think about this movie.
Yeah? Am I that predictable?
I'm trying to be a little more forgiving. First time director, Denis Kryuchlov? Sorry, I'm butchering that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know Russian. But this is his first film. He only did a short before that. I'm trying to be very nice. I think this looks competently shot. I think it just needed a better story. If you listen to this whole thing, we complained about kind of story elements throughout. I think if they wrote it a little more seamlessly and just a little more upfront instead of trying to throw plot twists or surprise it at us, I think you should always go more straightforward with action sometimes, because I don't think people care about surprises when in action movies, right? Yeah.
Well, the surprise itself doesn't have a good payoff.
Right? Well, exactly, that too. But I'm definitely being a lot more forgiving. The digital post stuff is what actually annoyed me the most. I generally liked the choreography because it felt unchoreographed at times. It felt like a lot of people just going at it, which was kind of, it's different. If you're a martial arts fan, you're used to seeing very clean choreography where it looks like people are performing, like a dance fight almost. I like here, it feels like a bunch of guys just getting into a barroom brawl.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Nikita versus the tracksuit goons. That's definitely the best one. What else?
Are you scrambling?
So yes, he's not much of a character, but I liked Ivan Kotik, the guy who played Nikita. I think he did the calm, quiet, stoic guy perfectly. I could see him doing this character forever in other action movies. I'd like to see him more. Apparently, he was in Dragon Blade. That was the Jackie Chan Roman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to cover that.
And he was in Tai Chi 0.
Oh my, was he? I watched that. That
He
was not
a
good.
character. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't recognize it. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That movie, maybe we'll cover that one day because that movie is, both of those movies are a mess. They're contenders for a bad movie night.
Oh boy. Ooh, I want to watch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Well,
hey.
Well,
Yep,
anyway, yeah, Russian Raid. I've never seen a martial arts film from Russia. I don't know them to be an export of martial arts films. So if this is like one of the first ones or more popular ones,
Sure.
I'd say, go watch it, support it. It's not horrendous. Yes, there are story problems, and oddly enough, it feels like a slow-paced action movie. But I think there are little nice moments here and there that if you're an action fan, you can appreciate.
This movie would have worked better if it was just Iko Uwais, but he was Russian. There you go.
What?
It was just like Iko Uwais.
You mean like
in the raid. It was just the raid, but it was just like it's just Russian.
Wait, you mean like they deep faked Iko Uwais' face on top of
Yeah.
Ivan Kotik's body?
Yeah, there you go. That would have been perfect.
All right, internet, make it happen. Let's go.